Colin, lovely to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Given what happened to Harry in the original Kingsman, I'm not going to give away too much for anyone who hasn't watched it, but given what happened to him, were you surprised when you got the call to say, come back for the sequel?
Well, I think it wasn't quite as abrupt as that, because we've remained so much in contact that any thoughts about things were, started off as a conversation, little rumble, and then it would grow. So it wasn't as if I hadn't heard from Matthew Vaughn for 2 years and I suddenly get a phone call.
Yeah.
There was definitely talk about how well the team was working and how well the dynamic worked. And, I think, however, you plan things that you're always a bit surprised by the things that work or don't work. And I think that Harry, Eggsy, Merlin, Roxy, it was a configuration that was the thing we all liked about it, and maybe, if nothing else, amongst ourselves.
I see you guys as superheroes, but most superheroes get to wear really comfy suits. You guys look really cool when you fight, but you're wearing suits, you're wearing dress shoes. How uncomfortable is that when you're trying to do a full-on action scene?
It's uncomfortable. Actually, we cheated a little bit.
What'd you do?
For action scenes, I'd asked for a suit to be made a little bigger. The suit wouldn't have survived. Particularly the first film. In the church fight, there was so much flailing about that the seams would have been ripping all over the place. So the suit was made bigger, and with even little sort of stretchy panels and that sort of thing. Same with the shoes, the soles of the shoes.
I love your career to date, but it is so eclectic, from The King's Speech to this, to A Single Man, to Mary Poppins Returns, Mamma Mia. What makes you say yes to a role?
Gosh, it's a really good question. There's no set of rules or, boxes to tick or anything. Recently, with things like, I seem to have gone into the sequel phase of my life, which I guess is maybe that's a sign of age. Your life coming back like acid reflux. In the case of a sequel, it's often just to be back with the people. With Mamma Mia, it's irresistible to be back with that team. It's one of the most enjoyable experiences I've ever had, and some of those people are really my best friends, and nothing would stop me. And I've very rarely even seen, let alone been in a film that's had that effect on an audience. It might not be for everybody, but following the screenings around the world and looking at people sitting there rather stiffly, waiting to resist this thing. And then the shoulders start to go 20 minutes in, and then everyone on their feet at the end. That experience was bliss.
How are you feeling about having to sing again?
How are you feeling about me having to sing again?
I quite enjoyed it. I don't mind. As long as it's not me singing, I'm happy.
No, I think I'm the opposite. I do love to do the singing.
Yeah.
I think I've learned that it's the fewer listeners, the better. So, I normally out of compassion, I'll confine myself to the shower. But I love it. I love it. If I have to apologise afterwards, so be it.
We all enjoy your films. Are you able to look back at your films and be entertained by them, or do you make them, see them at the premieres, and then just put them away and move on to the next
The
thing?
latter. I can enjoy the memories much better
Yeah.
if I don't look at it. I don't think it's hugely unusual. I think most people, wince when they see a picture of themselves. Most people wince when they hear their voice recorded. If you do theatre, you never have to have it fed back to you. You can remember it the way you want to remember it.
Yeah.
And I think that it would be nice to have that with film. You see the screening you have to see. If people like it, just enjoy the fact. I think if you watch it, all the judgments you make on yourself are going to spoil that. Or if you like it and no one else does, then it's just painful. So I think it's the memory of doing it. I think it's the one. It's the one to keep.
Your first acting credit on IMDb is 1984. It was Crown Court, and you were playing P.C. Franklin.
Yes.
Do you remember that? Do you remember how you felt the first day on set, going, "I am an actor?
Do you know something? This has been flipped around, and I haven't corrected it. But unless I've got complete amnesia, it wasn't my first gig. It seems like it would have been. I think my first day on set was Another Country, and I think I did Crown Court after that. It may be that Another Country hadn't come out yet.
Yeah.
But my first day on set was on Another Country, and yes, there was that feeling. Yes, my first day as a professional actor was actually in the theatre. I did a play of Another Country, and yes, the first time I got a paper in a brown envelope, the P45, whatever, that I'm being paid to do this, when I'd been paying to do it up to that point, quite happily.
Do you remember the day where you went, I'm no longer chasing my tail? I can officially call myself an actor. The jobs are coming in, and how that made you feel? Well,
I'm still pinching myself, I think. I don't think that ever really goes away. There's you shouldn't get work. That's what was promised me. My parents didn't disapprove of it. They just were worried. There's no job security. As time's gone on, you realise there's probably not much job security in any profession. But growing up in the 70s, the idea was that there was job security, and if you got the right education or the right training, the right degree, it would lead to this, and then there'd be a retirement age, and there'd be the pension, and that was the path that felt secure. And I have always been very mindful of the fact that this is not secure. And I listened to an interview with, I think it was with Dustin Hoffman, saying that he still feels like when he's finished on a movie, that's the last one.
Wow.
No one's the phone's not going to ring, and that he'd talked to Gene Hackman, who'd said the same thing. I think actors always feel that a little bit. Always feels like a bit of a miracle that you're still getting employed.
Well, you're getting lots. Can you tell us about Mary Poppins Returns?
I can tell you that I think it's going to be great. It's on a quite an extraordinary scale. Most of the films I've done have been on quite a small scale. You feel like it's we're flying by the seat of our pants. The crew's quite small, the production values. Kingsman was on a whole different scale, but I would say Mary Poppins is even on an even bigger one. Rob Marshall is a director that everybody adores. The atmosphere on the set was incredibly happy. I could have spent a lot more time than I did. My role in it is not enormous. And it's just one of those times where I just wish I'd been there all the time, just had a bigger role to play. But everyone seemed very happy, and from what I saw, I think it's going to be really fabulous.
Well, we can't wait to see it, but in the meantime, we can check out Kingsman. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Such a pleasure.